Hey everyone, greetings from our home to yours. I hope that this finds you safe and well. We're going to look at Matthew chapter 6, verses 5 through 8 today. And it says, "Whenever you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, because they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by people. Truly, I tell you, they have their reward. But when you pray, go in your private room, shut your door, and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. When you pray, don't babble like the Gentiles, since they imagine they'll be heard for their many words. Don't be like them, because your Father knows the things you need before you ask Him." So Jesus is teaching us how to pray in this passage, and I got to give you a little bit of a confession. I'm an introvert. Actually, I'm extremely introverted. And as an introvert, there are two things that happen in church that cause myself and other introverts to panic. The first is when whoever's up front says, "Let's stand and greet one another." And the second is, "Let's join hands and pray." And it's funny how each time the person who says that is so full of joy and happiness, and you know that they're not an introvert. You know, these prayer circle things, when they say, "Let's join hands and pray together," these prayer circle things, it probably happens more in small groups than it does in church, especially probably not in a big church. But you know what I'm talking about. But believe it or not, whether it's in a small group or whatever, it's still painful. I mean, I do it, but to all of us introverts, it takes a toll. And believe it or not, COVID mitigation was something that was a positive thing for introverts. And so for all of us introverts out there, here is some biblical proof that praying in circles is unbiblical. Okay, I said that a little bit too passionately, but the real question is praying in circles in public even wrong? Well, actually, it depends on your motivation and what your motivations are. Much like we talked about a couple weeks ago, what is your motivation for doing that? Are you praying in public so that people can see you and think that, "Oh, wow, he is really good at praying. He uses some good words when he prays"? Then no, that's not right. And I think the point that I'm trying to make, even though, I'm kind of poking fun at prayer circles, is that we humans have this temptation that's in us to do things with the wrong motivations. And so when we are asked to pray in public, I think sometimes the temptation is too great. So in my opinion, it should be used sparingly. I'm talking about the praying in public thing. And I'm sorry to all my charismatic and Pentecostal friends. I think that the temptation to show off is too great, and praying in public should be used sparingly, like Jesus said. Interesting enough, Jesus also said that we're not to babble and keep repeating ourselves when we pray. He tells us that there were other religions whose followers believed that if they kept repeating the same things over and over and having these long, long prayers, that their gods would hear them better and give them what they want. I think I've heard some preachers saying that even in our Christian religion. But Jesus says, don't do that. Don't be like them, because God the Father knows the things that you need before you ask Him. I mean, that's an interesting statement, isn't it? I mean, God knows the things that we need before we ask Him. So the question then is, why pray? If God knows what we need before we ask Him, why do we pray? Well, prayer is not about us asking God to do our will. Prayer is us asking God to show us His will. It's asking God to provide what we need. It's us asking God to forgive us. It's us asking God to help us forgive those who have hurt us, those who have done wrong to us. It's kind of like how He taught us to pray in the Lord's Prayer, which we'll talk about more next week. So, next time you hear the words, "Let's join hands in prayer," remember what Jesus said about prayer. I pray this week you will experience God's grace and God's peace. God bless you.